Live from Chicago, it's Chris Sells His Soul. I'm your host, Chris Bogue, and this is my weekly show on LinkedIn Live, where I have conversations with cool people who will help you work more creatively. This week, my guests are Stephen and Erin Pope. Stephen and Erin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm Steve Pope. I'm a CEO of SGP Labs.
And I'm Erin Pope, and I am part of SGP Labs.
Yes, thank you. Well, so my audience, where can they find you? Where's the best place to find you online for your content?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, and you can always just find me with Stephen G. Pope, and that's with the PH. And I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. You can find me on all those platforms. Super active on LinkedIn and TikTok, and Stephen G. Pope at any one of those places will find me.
And I am most active on LinkedIn, so I'm just Erin Pope on LinkedIn.
Excellent. And if you're looking for me, my name is Chris Bogue. You can find me at christopherbogue.com. I am a writer and sketch comedian and coach. I coach people to get on video, both individuals and teams, specifically sales and marketing teams. You can find all my info on my website. You can find me at my TikTok, Chris Sells His Soul. You can find all my previous episodes of this podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. But the best way to follow me is to go on LinkedIn and ring my bell. I am a content creator. I create content every single day, much of it video, much of it comedy based. Check it out if you want to see what I do. But today our show is called Partner Up. So I have brought Stephen and Erin on because not only are they a content creator team who does this professionally, but they are husband and wife. And they make content together. And that's what I train too. I'm all about training people to make content together as an ensemble. So Stephen, Erin, whichever one of you wants to take the first question here, when did you two decide to do this for a living?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we've really been running our own business for a long time. So I've always been an entrepreneur, always like way back. I mean, I've had a W-2 job for like two years of my life. Mm-hmm. So we've always been in business together. I built a previous software development company to several $1 million a year in Inc. magazine's fastest growing companies. And then I sold that. And then it was just natural for us to start another business. And she helped me with the previous business, and she helps me with this business. So it's really just kind of ultimately always been that way.
So now, Erin, do you want to break down, because I see Steve on, TikTok and LinkedIn a lot of the time. I know as someone who produces a podcast that there's a lot of work that doesn't get seen, that isn't happening on camera. So can you tell the audience a little bit about your role in creating content?
Yeah, so my role is I'm more behind the scenes. So I take that podcast and edit it. We have thumbnails that need to be created, so I work with a design team to do that. If a video editor needs to be involved, I'll work with our video editor that we have. So it's just, if I'm not editing it myself, it's managing the process. So just having a hand in that pretty much every day until that podcast gets published and gets out.
And she's making clips, and she's managing the process. I mean, there's like so many little things that go into like having a really smooth running process from week to week. And so she's really in all the weeds of all that stuff.
Yeah, I want to get into that here. And I'm going to pull up. So audience, hello, everybody who's checking us out today. I see we've already got some commentary going here. I'm going to pull up Margot's commentary about how she and her husband would kill each other if they had to do this. I want you all to submit your questions throughout the episode. We're going to be answering your questions. Any questions you have about content, about creating content as a team, about TikTok or LinkedIn. But I want to dig into what Margot said here, because I was taught in business that if you want to do business with a spouse, you need to have different jobs, right? Mm-hmm. You need to have like your different responsibilities. You can't share all the responsibilities. So Stephen and Erin, how do you not kill each other doing this?
Well, I would agree with that. The separation is good. I won't say it's without any conflict. Stephen is very direct, and I am sensitive. So that doesn't always, we do have our moments, of course, but we are typically, generally speaking, we are working towards one goal. This is our life. This is what we've chosen to do. There's no other choice, like no other way for us but entrepreneurship. So we just make it work. But yeah, there are conflicts every day. So it is tough.
And I'm super easygoing, so that makes it easy.
Yeah, you're not intense at all. No.
Yeah, no, this is something I really want to talk about because it's difficult. I was trying to like close a deal with somebody, and I was like working my way up through a chain, and I got somebody's boss stopped them, like, don't hire this Chris Bogue guy because here's a list of 22 video ideas. Why don't you just go do that? Right. And people who don't do content just assume it's easy. They see us out here and they're like, oh, you just sit around and talk. I don't have the time to do that, but if I did, that would be easy. And it's not. And with creative work, do either of you read The Onion? Are you fans of The Onion?
I've seen it. Yeah. I don't read it regularly.
So it's a satirical newspaper. It's been around for a long time. They're famous for their headlines. And they're like, famously, their writers will fight for half an hour over comma placement.
Wow.
Is the comma funnier here or there? And they will get heated. And you get pissed when you don't get your way, and it's like, it is this thing where it is this artistic endeavor, but when it's your business, you're also relying on it to make money. So yeah, I guess my question for both of you is like, how do you not get burnt out doing this lifestyle?
Well, I mean, you got to have fun with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I have fun making content. There are times where it's not fun, but I'll analyze that. I'll think about, it's usually just because I'm doing too much, or I'm not innovating. I'm not coming up with new ideas. So, I mean, you kind of have to be self-aware about this stuff. Right. But yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to get on video, articulate. I've always been a creator. I've always been writing blogs and doing that kind of thing. So I like to share my point of view. I think most people have this hidden feeling that they wish they could share their point of view more. So I think, tapping into some of that is important. And I mean, there's like you said, it's hard, but at the same time, I think you could say it's easy. It's just that you have to have some training. You have to have whatever it is that's making it hard for you. You have to have some sort of training around. And that's going to be different for everybody, right? So I work with some people, and we're going to set up a podcast or something, and I have to go through every little thing with them. And then there's other people that they're going to set up a podcast, and they're like, yeah, I'm just going to record it this weekend. And I'm like, okay. And so each of these different groups of people are going to have a different set of issues that they deal with. The only thing that all of us have to confront is the commitment to doing some of these things. That's the only singular thing we all deal with. After that, it's just like there's just a few different things that are going to keep you from getting on camera, starting the podcast, doing the interviews, doing a live show like this, or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I find that is spot on. It's like you have to commit to doing it. That's the hardest part. Erin, I'm interested in something you said. So you talked about having a common goal and how it keeps the emotional stuff in perspective. And I identified that with that because prior to this gig, I was doing shows at Chicago's Second City. I was writing and directing the shows. Often I was not in them. Anyone in the crowd who watched our little trailer this week, Stephen and Erin and I did a little black and white I Love Lucy parody. I'm used to writing for other people, and I was taught to write as a group. So I would either have a writing partner or I would be in a writer's room. And you learn that it is not personal, but still you take it personally. And you understand why your idea gets shot down, but it doesn't mean it doesn't sting a little. So Erin, I am curious, as a more sensitive person, how has that been helpful? Because I know that's been helpful for me. I'm a very sensitive person. There's some ways that editing, it's very helpful. But what are the challenges of being a sensitive person who has to always put content out there?
The challenges. I guess the challenge, being sensitive, mostly is just working with Steve, and he knows what he wants, and he's very direct about it. So sometimes I feel passionately about it should go a different way. Just learning to communicate, and not take it personally. That is the challenge for me. I do get defensive and I do get stubborn and I dig in, and that isn't great. So, that's the challenge. It's just developing, I guess, being better about not taking it personally.
Yeah. And that's the thing I always tell people too, is like, you don't know what quality content is. Your audience does. They will reveal to you what is valuable, and it's often not what we think is valuable.
Right.
And as the content creator, as someone who's spent a lot of hours editing and producing and writing and being on camera and promoting myself, it's a disappointment when something you worked very hard on bombs, and then, you go flush the toilet on TikTok and all of a sudden it blows up.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
true.
come on. But there's something about that the audience enjoyed, and you just got to deal with it. So,
right.
How do you guys?
One note on that though, like, it can be frustrating, but also exciting, right? So like when I first got on TikTok, I was creating all sorts of different things, and you're just throwing stuff out there, and then, but when you see something stick, that's actually pretty exciting, because you get an insight that literally nobody else would ever come to except you, because you were willing to go out there and do something. So like, here's another interesting thing as well, is like, so in terms of like marketing and all these things, everyone's always talking about like your unique selling proposition, right? So like, what is your unique thing? Sometimes we have a clouded version of what that actually is, right? And people have the hardest time doing that, because they feel like if they say this is my specialty, then all these other things are not important, which isn't necessarily the case. But if you go out there and you start creating content, then you're just like testing things out, and you're going to see that people keep saying, oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I don't see anybody else doing that. I don't see anybody else doing that. And eventually you'll get comfortable with like, oh, that is why I'm different. Right. So like, for instance, for me, like more recently, like I've just learned that I'm the best at, content, repurposing, distribution, cutting things up and sending things to a lot of different platforms, and being really efficient at that, and allowing people to create content in a couple hours a week. But it was only because I just started to like take screenshots of some of the videos or some of the things I was building. And I was just like, hey, look how I can do this really fast. And then all of a sudden those TikToks would just blow up. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that is something that nobody else can do. And when I keep making those types of videos, then they just keep popping off. And that's really interesting to me. And I would never have stumbled on that if I had just sat down in a room and just like mapped out, like took out a piece of paper and said, what are my 20 content ideas?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so fascinating what you two are doing too, because, people have their limitations. And some people are really good. They're like me and Steve. They are obnoxious. They will go out there and they will talk until someone shuts them up. But that's a skill. That's hard. Not everyone has the endurance to do that. Not everyone has the nerve to do that. Not everyone has the confidence or the charisma to do that. And then like editing, we can talk, Erin, too, about editing here. Editing a podcast, editing a video, these things require so much sensitivity, so much thinking, so much, like I always say, like, especially on video, yes, video is visual. It is an audio experience. There is text on screen. There are visuals. There's so many things to consider. And it's like, there are people who don't want to go out there on camera all the time. But all that stuff, the more creative stuff, the posting it, the scheduling, the recutting it, that's what they're good at. So it's like, if you want to make content, but there's some part of the process that you suck at, partner up with someone who enjoys that.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Erin, could you like take me a little bit into of like the creative side of editing and repurposing and what you're doing? What kinds of artistic decisions are you making, and like what do you find fun about that process?
Well, I do find it rewarding to, I guess the creative piece for me is looking at something that Steven has done and really listening to it and thinking, where am I learning? What do I think is interesting? What do I think that the viewer is going to get out of this? And that's typically where I make a clip. And sometimes I get it wrong, or, and that's fine. I've learned, I've gotten better as I've been doing it, obviously, with anything. that happens. But that's what I like about it. That's where I can be creative, is just kind of using my intuition and thinking, okay, this is where I think somebody's really going to get some value out of this. This is funny. Yeah. And that's where I lend my creative skills to it from the editing piece of things.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's interesting because I am one person here, right? So I have to think of myself as doing the jobs separately. So it's like when I am writing that script, I'm not editing. I am writing, you know, and then when you turn on the camera, I am the performer. I'm thinking just about the performance. And then, yeah, as an editor, I can't worry about my appearance anymore, because I just have to say, this is the footage. What is the best story I can tell with it? I got to take all the gifts here in this piece of footage and present them in a way that's going to be entertaining and educational for my audience. And then that's a different job than distributing it, you know, but I really have to put my hat on and focus in on just one piece of the puzzle. Because if you try to do all 20 pieces at once, it is a nightmare. It is overwhelming.
Oh yeah. This all could be very overwhelming. And that's why a lot of people don't do it. It's like, they're just like too focused on too many different things, which is the case for anything. I think for most people, right? When you get into anything new, you're just like, you're thinking too many steps ahead. You're not in the moment with what you're doing right now, trying to do too many things, and you get stuck.
Yeah, you can't do, and I mean, I do podcasts and long form video and short form video and all this stuff. And that was not what I was doing a year ago.
Yeah.
A year ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try. I've got a minimum of 2 a week that I'm going to do at least 2 videos a week. I'm going to try to hit 4 videos a week. So I'm making more video. There's more days that I'm releasing video than not releasing video. But yeah, I had to start small before I was able to become like a content everyday person. So we're going to get into that. This whole second half of the conversation is going to be about how to create content, why you should create content, what kind of content should you create. But first, we're going to do Gimme Gimme. So Stephen, Erin, are you ready for Gimme Gimme?
Let's do it.
We're ready.
I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm ready.
Oh, you're ready. So audience, if you don't know, this is the part of the show where my guests and I explain what we want from you. I don't know if you've realized this, but LinkedIn is actually the only social media platform that was designed exclusively for self-promotion. So especially if you run your own business, if you're in sales, it never hurts to remind your audience that they can hire you, and reminding them of what kind of value they're going to get out of it. So Stephen, Erin, here we go. Hello, welcome to Gimme Gimme. It's me, the boss, Stephen, Erin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now's your chance. My audience is here. They have money. Go ahead and ask them for anything you want.
Yeah. So if you want a sales generating content machine and you want to create content, repurpose it and distribute it to a bunch of platforms in just a couple hours a week, hit me up.
Excellent. Where can they do that?
Yeah, hit me up right here on LinkedIn. You're right there. You're in the live. You could be sending me a message right now, and I'll give you a 5% discount.
Whoa.
Whoa. Really breaking the bank there. Gang, I would recommend giving them a call. And I know what you're going to say. Hey, I just hired a 22-year-old SDR. He's probably going to be here forever making cold calls. Why on earth would I want delightful content every single day when I could just go out there and pay this person who doesn't know what they're doing to make 70 phone calls when really they're only going to make 20 if we're lucky? No, you know what you need? You need delightful content. You need to get in touch with Stephen and Erin Pope so you can get content out there every day, or you could get in touch with me for a little bit of training. Yeah, that's right. Your SDRs are competing with us right now. And guess what? When they sit there and they have to look at the shitty cold email that your SDR sent, or they have to watch Stephen and Erin and me in an episode of Leave It to Beaver, where Erin is June Cleaver and Steve is the Beav and I'm Wally, but we get to say fuck and shit and all our favorite swear words. Guess which one they're going to watch? They're going to watch us because it's a lot more fun. You can't afford that anymore. Stop doing bullshit sales. Go hire someone to teach you how to make content, or hire people to produce content for you. Stephen, Erin, what else do you have for my audience today?
I mean, I really couldn't agree with you more. I mean, creating content is the future. So like, I'm not going to say outbound sales is dead, because there are people out there that are doing it and making money at it, but that's not going to scale. And it's not going to necessarily bring you the quality leads that I know that you want. Because we all deal with bad clients, and we want the best ones. So if you're out there creating content on a consistent basis, and you're teaching them things, and you're doing that on a consistent basis, you're going to build a scalable way to generate revenue for your company. So content, and this is only going to get more intense over time. So like, even if it took you 6 months to figure this out, the things that you're learning now are going to compound over time. And it's not like you're just going to it's not going to be like just one day you're going to say, I'm going to make content, you're going to flip it on, and it's going to be working. So it's going to take you time to figure this out. And the people that get in now, the people that got in a year ago, the people that got in 2 years ago, they're already ahead of you. And me and Chris are going to be ahead of you. And so if you want to get in this game and be successful in the future, it's time to do it.
Yeah, you got to ask yourself, even if we don't hire Steve and Erin, even if we don't hire Chris Bogue, eventually you're going to be here, right? So either you're going to do it now, or you're going to wait 2 years from now when you can't afford us anymore. So get in on the good stuff while it's now. Send Steven and Erin a message. Check out my website at ChristopherBogue.com for training. This has been Gimme Gimme. And that's a thing I do. So I always tell people, if you can't afford paid ads, that's fine. You can just make your own commercials, and it's way more fun.
And you know, organic content is your path to paid traffic anyway. Like you figure out. You figure out the organic thing. You figure out what people respond to, what messaging they respond to. You develop your product. That's when you can move to paid ads.
Yeah, well, that's such a thing too that I'm telling people. And again, it's this idea of like, you do not know what your valuable content is. But if you go out there, I always say, if you're in business, start with the questions you get asked all the time. If there's a question you get asked 10 times a day at your job, go on video and say, here's a thing I get asked every day. I always say blah, blah, blah. That is a 30-second video, you know. Objections
in your sales calls, right? So you get, what are the top 10 objections? Just continue to create content around those top 10 objections. And that's probably the easiest way.
Oh yeah. I firmly believe the best place to handle objections is not in a sales call. It is in your content. And I coach people specifically to do this. Whether you're in sales, whether you're an entrepreneur, if you lose a deal because somebody shot you down with an objection, go make a piece of content about that objection. You know, if you're getting through your sales presentation, if you're sending out your marketing materials, if you are selling yourself as the one and only who's different from everybody else, and people can't see why you're any different than competitors, then you need to go out there and show them. If your product is the best because it makes people happy and people love the atmosphere around that, then you need to get that on video and let people see it. And, you know, nobody knew who I was a year ago. I was a completely obscure person. And I would always tell people, well, guys, my improv show was funny. If you came to the Second City, you would see it. And there was no record of me doing any of this stuff.
Right.
And then when I started my own business, I'm like, they're never going to hire me unless they can see what I can do. And I just took all that stuff that I used to do on the stage, and now I do it, you know, sitting at my office desk, but it's opened up all these doors for me. So I want to get a little bit into, Steven, Erin, what is like the most effective kind of content that you've learned to make for your business? Like really, like what have you found is your sweet spot? The type of stuff that is entertaining, but also, you know, helps you get clients.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now it's like when I create content around, you know, content optimization, workflow, and automation, all of which I figured out, like we were talking in the beginning, all of which I figured out in the beginning. That's the stuff that resonates the most with the people that have the most money to pay for my services, right? Because yeah, I mean. But I have to say that's like there's like short and long-term strategies. Like there's content that converts, and then there's content that's just continually keeping people aware of you, and just like, oh, I like that guy, you know, or he's cool, or he says interesting things. And because the thing that I always when I talk about how content scales, the reason why it scales is because, like, with a sales call, or if you DM somebody and you get them on a call, maybe you get them on, and then they decide not to hire you, they're literally going to forget about you 15 minutes from now. And they probably will never think of you again unless somehow you're in their circle and you get connected with them. But with content, you're just always pushing this stuff out, and it's thoughtful, and it's entertaining or educational, and people just start to remember you. They just become a staple in their life. Hopefully, is well. I mean, I was going to say hopefully not an annoying one, but actually that's probably not the right way to say it, because you probably want to annoy the people that are going to be annoyed with you, and then the people that really like you probably want to really like. So like,
oh, my alarm clock annoys me every morning. Doing its job. It's doing its job. You know, when my dentist calls and says, hey, you're supposed to come in for your checkup, that's annoying. I do not want to take that call. That does not mean that they're wrong for calling me. You know? Now I'm interested in, Erin, if you want to chime in here too, I am interested. Can you tell my audience a little bit more, like maybe some examples of content that converts versus content to build awareness? How much of each do you put out there? And how do you go about, like, what's the difference in distributing and producing one kind versus the other?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that maybe Steve, you could talk a little bit more about this as far as like putting content that converts, or building brand awareness. We just put out valuable content. I guess I don't really think when I'm doing that, I don't like look at them as separate things necessarily.
Yeah, that's probably something that I handle a little bit more. So it's a mixture for me. Like I know specific things that people are interested in and will cause them to, reach out and I just know, like, if I say certain things, that those are things that people want. But then at the same time, if you're always talking about those things, it can get a little tiring. And so like, I'm always just on podcasts, just talking, giving my point of view, answering questions. Like I'm recording this myself right here. I got a little camera and I can take that up and splice it up. And when I create that kind of content, it's just going to be me saying little things, and they're not going to be things that convert. They're just going to be things that introduce you to me. I'm saying something insightful. You get introduced to me, and then it'll be something else down the line that you see that is more intentional. I've got, 5, 10, well, it's really like 15 different things that I know like people are interested in. And so those are the things I will just intentionally map out in the next week. And that's another point too, is like there's repurposed content, and then there's like specific content that you make. And so like if you make a podcast or something, the content in that podcast may or may not convert anybody, because the conversation is going to go here or there or whatever, right? But like, and then if you repurpose that, you make little clips from it, you post those onto TikTok, the same thing's going to happen. Like the flow is just going to kind of be, all over the place. Whereas opposed to like whipping out the camera and, looking at the TikTok thing and giving a specific delivered message, they're two different types of things, right? And especially on TikTok as well, like the more specific you are on a video, the more likely it is you're going to have control over how well it pops, as opposed to the repurposed stuff, which may or may not, depending on just like where you started the clip or where you ended it. So that's the way I look at it, is like the podcast and the repurposing of those clips and stuff like that. That's going to be a little bit more general awareness, helping people understand what their problems might be, educational. And then you're going to have those individual points that you might pop off in individual videos or individual posts that you specifically write for the purpose of educating, and then, I guess converting somebody into a call or something like that.
So this is interesting, because we've stumbled onto a topic here that I don't hear enough talked about, because there's the one school of thought that says you got to niche yourself down, get Justin Welsh's class and get your little niche and, productize it. And then, that can be very repetitive. Sometimes, people are complicated, and I am doing a lot of things with my brand, and I actually have a very deliberate strategy with my podcasts where I am alternating topics based on the different things that my audience comes to me for. So Stephen and Erin are on here because content creators and content marketers are an audience that I have. Another audience I have is sales, right? So that boss character I discovered plays very well with sales leaders and people who like corporate bro and people who like sales feed and people who like content about sales. So I give that to the salespeople, but I also have people who are more like Erin over here, where, you know, she's more quiet. She's not exactly thrilled about going out there and doing sales presentations.
Right.
But yeah, so I like having people on here who they're more thoughtful, they're more creative types. They want content about writing, they want content about finding their confidence, how to assert themselves. So that's an audience I have. And I actually have this nice little kind of wave effect where it's like I will bring the content people on, and then the next week it's like the repurposed content comes in. So anybody who's coming to the show because they're a content creator, they're also going to be seeing, you know, the last week's episode, and maybe that was a more salesy one, you know. And I was taught by a content creator to break your audiences down into sub audiences. And I have found this is so much more helpful when I'm trying to create content, because I'll be like, you know what? I've been going really heavy on the TikTok stuff, really heavy on the content stuff. It looks like I haven't played to my sales audience in a while. You know, what was the message that played well with okay, I'm going to give them a variation of this message that I know they like. And if I haven't done anything for the accessibility people in a long time, I do something for the accessibility people. And, you know, once you get these little different audiences, you know, it provides a roadmap for the type of content you should be making. But when I start noticing people in certain boxes where they're in multiple boxes, if I thought someone was the quiet creative person, and all of a sudden I see them clicking on and commenting on all my sales videos, that's someone who might be a prospect, right? And oftentimes I'll dig in and I'll talk to them and be like, oh yeah, me and my husband just started a business. We're figuring out our sales. We like the sales content. That's somebody I can work with, you know, but I had to put the content out there first and see how it landed.
Yeah. I think too often people give all this advice, like you have to niche down, you have to do this, you have to do that. The truth is, like, my situation is a little different than yours, or drastically different. And the truth is like, you know, unless like, I mean, on TikTok, if you do niche content, there is a chance to grow faster, just because there's going to be a certain group of people that continually see you, and TikTok's going to know that. But that's a different thing. That's like an algorithmic thing. Like, we're all people. You are your niche. Like, you are your niche. It's not just like, so if you're a creative person and you like being creative, and you also like doing this and you like doing that and you like doing this, if you try to sever those things off just because someone told you you need a niche, you're going to hate what you do. And so you're going to have to be you and bring all of you to the table. And if you've got different audiences, that's fine. Like if you think about what content really does, or what good marketing does, is that it accelerates word of mouth marketing. So like if you've got a sales guy, if somebody isn't your target market, but they're talking to you, or they're talking about you to somebody else, right? Like, so many people think of word of mouth marketing as referrals from existing clients, but it's not really that. It's like, it's much deeper than that. It's like, you could just have a friend who's always seeing your stuff, and now he's talking about it to somebody that is your target market, and like they're sharing it with them. So like, I think people have to just like sit down and just be like, listen to their gut about who are the different people that would be interested in this, and just start sharing all of your things. Then you're going to be able to create more content anyways. You're going to enjoy it more, and you'll reach more people, and you'll build a brand. That's what it's all about. Like, it's not just about like creating one post that converts somebody. I think that's too short-sighted. You will have those moments where you have a post and it converts, and it's going to be like, yeah, I can't believe I just made a post on LinkedIn and all of a sudden I have a customer. But I think it's a little too short-sighted. And that's, if you have those kind of point of views, you're going to make a couple posts and you're going to get disappointed that you didn't get a client, and you're going to quit. And it's like subverting the whole process.
Yeah, I was trained to be a classical salesperson, and they teach you in sales. If you're building out a sales process, you learn. The data says all sorts of things, but in general, you need at least like 17 touch points with someone before you close the deal. This is why sales bosses make their team keep cold calling and emailing, and says, don't worry if they don't pick up, you got to keep going. What happens with content is you can have a lot of those first touch points without having to bother them for a sales meeting.
Exactly.
And especially with me, I am selling. So a lot of the times I am telling people that what they are doing now is wrong. And they don't like hearing that. People
Right.
protect their egos.
Sure.
And if I'm in a situation where I am selling you, you're going to protect yourself from me. You're going to protect your time. You're going to protect your money. But if you're just scrolling through LinkedIn and I'm making, there's an entertaining piece of content about why you should have video, you can sit there and watch it at your own time, and you don't have to get into an argument. You might
Exactly.
get to the end of the video and you disagree with me, but you can just keep on scrolling. And
Right.
I have found that when you have these initial touch points, it is you talking to them. They are getting a sense of your personality. But yeah, it is a long-term thing. They feel like they're in a relationship with you. And yeah, once they've known you for months, I will have people who I did not know they were fans of my content. They do not
Right.
click the like button. They do not click the comment button. But then I reach out to them. They go, "Oh yeah, I love your stuff. I shared it with my wife. I shared this video that you did." I'm like, "Dude, you never clicked the like button."
And that's
I
why,
know.
that's why the consistency and the perseverance and the volume is important too. Like, if you put out, I mean, everyone has to start somewhere. So there's no judgment here, but if you put out 2 posts a week on LinkedIn, like the people that you might want to reach, they might have logged in on Sunday. They might have logged in on Saturday. I mean, LinkedIn might get it to them, but like volume is important and consistency is important because that's what's going to make these touch points. And again, like that long, like if you think about how things scale, it's like if you're going to get the people that are wanting to buy right now. Right. And so, but that's going to dwindle out fairly quickly. But if you're touching people for 6 months, a year, and all of those people, like think of how many people along that year might have just seen you and might be continuing to see you. When they hit that buying cycle, they're going to remember you. And so that's how this thing actually scales, right? And then if you keep going 2 years, 3 years, like people could have been watching you for 3 years.
Yeah. Erin, did you have you looked like you had something to say when we were talking about the touch points. Well, I'm interested because this is part of what happens when people on what you just said there, Stephen. I always tell people it does not matter if you made the greatest video in history if nobody sees it. And getting people to see it, putting it out there on the platform, making sure the right eyes get on it, that is a completely different skill set than just getting up there and speaking confidently and entertainingly on camera. So, Erin, can you take me a little bit more into that when you're like, whether you're repurposing, like you're taking an interview and you're turning it into different types of content? I don't know. Can you just take me through like that process a little bit of like, how do you know who to get it to? And like, we've been talking here about word of mouth, but how do you make sure the people that are going to talk about it are the ones that are consuming it?
That's a great question. I guess just in what I'm choosing to clip. So like you had mentioned, putting your audiences into these subcategories, like speaking to your sales audience, speaking to your marketing audience. Just when I'm clipping, first and foremost, like I said, I'm just seeing like what's interesting. Okay. I come at it from, I guess, a less technical standpoint. Just what's interesting. What do I think is funny? And what would a particular audience find interesting? Like people, because we do post to TikTok. What are people on TikTok going to find compelling to actually sit and watch this clip? And it's usually something that's much quicker. It's not something that's necessarily a minute long that we can post on LinkedIn. So that's how I pretty much decide, is just by looking over the content that Steve has put out and really thinking about, do I like this? Will the TikTok audience like this, or will LinkedIn audience like this?
Yes, this is what I like. And I'm glad you say, you're not looking at it from a technical aspect. You're looking at it as an audience member and thinking, am I compelled by this? Because that's what I find is like, you don't have a silver bullet. Oftentimes I've seen there are content creators who will post a piece of content one day, they will post the same piece of content on another day. One blows up and the other doesn't.
Right.
Right. That's true too.
What was that?
I was just saying, yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. So at some point you have to look. And again, that idea of separating myself when I'm editing, I will look at a take and there's a part of me that just has to say, which version, like, do I think is funny? And like, we can get into here too, because audience, if you haven't seen it yet, you can go to my LinkedIn and check this out. Oh, sorry, there's a sound in the background.
I think there is a trash truck or something backing up, making a beep. So
Okay. I'll edit that out in post. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, we were talking about the trailer. We were talking about the trailer that we made. Yeah. So that was an example of like, well, one, I just noticed that WandaVision was popular, right? I watched the show WandaVision and I thought it was so much fun. I'm like, they had so much fun doing all these sitcom tropes. I have some experience. I did an improvised sitcom where it was a live show where it was like, it was a 3-week show. The first week was a pilot. You got a suggestion from the audience for what type of sitcom. You do the pilot, then the next week you do a different episode, and then the last week you did the series finale. So I've done improvised sitcoms, and then I saw you two, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. We could do a little sitcom magic. So I asked Stephen and Erin if they would go record a little video clip talking to the camera. And, you know, my audience, I'm selling the sales team. So I want them to see that it is fun getting on video together. So yeah, can you tell me a little bit about, I don't know, I guess I'm putting you on the spot here, but I know it's like, especially with Erin, she's not someone who's used to going out there and doing like crazy sketch comedy. So yeah,
Right.
What was that like having to make a sketch and collaborate?
It was fun. You know, because it wasn't live, it was actually it wasn't scary at all for me, for somebody who likes to be more not in front of the camera. But no, I had fun with it. We did it rather quickly too. I don't think we spent too much time obsessing over how it was. So that might have helped. We did it rather quickly.
I think that's where some of the experience comes in. I was like, when we were about to record, I was like, hey, we just got to get this done. Can't overdo it. Mm-hmm. And then one thing that was also, and this is like another thing that I just want to tell people, if you're listening now, it's like, we've had some experience doing this. So like Chris, even when we sent over the video, like I did a couple of different takes. I looked at her, I looked at the camera, and I only thought about that just because like, I was like, oh, I'm going to send this to Chris. I don't know exactly how he wants this. So I'm just going to do it a couple of different ways. And that's what we did. And we sent it to you, and hopefully like it gave you a few different options to kind of think about how you would do it. But like that would never have happened. Like if I hadn't been on camera, and anybody's watching, I used to be terrified of getting on camera. Like it was like you go look at my first LinkedIn video, I was like scared out of my mind. But it took practice. I mean, you can accelerate the process, but it does take practice. You're going to have to practice a few times.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing too. I'm trying to show people on my show that you can do it. And the people you see on LinkedIn and the people you see on TikTok who are getting millions of views, a lot of those people are just regular people with jobs, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And, part of what I'm doing is like, I did a little bit of reality TV. I did some web series. I did sketch comedy. I did improv. I did sales. I did a lot of things where I was up and performing for audiences. And, it helps when you have someone there who says, no, you go here and you stand there, right, look at the camera here, it helps when you have that sort of direction. And yeah, I talked to so many people who they would never get up and do a comedy sketch themselves. Mm-hmm. But if I send them 3 lines and say, oh, by the way, can you just turn on your camera and look at the camera and say this line and this line and this line? They look amazing up there, and you two look so amazing. It looks so fun. I love anytime I have somebody submit a clip to me, because I watch it and I'm like, oh, this is so funny. And for the audience out there, I don't expect you to start writing sketches, but if, for example, you're going to a conference, Nick Capozzi just made a great post about this. He was at a conference. If you're speaking, if you're networking with people, get a minute or 2 of footage. I saw Nick Bennett was going around. He was at one of these trade shows. And instead of just sitting around waiting for people to come to him, he went around and recorded hot takes from people. I was just like, hey, you're on LinkedIn. I want to hear your hot take about this. And he got a bunch of interviews from people. And it's like, if you get 2 minutes of video and it's just an interesting person talking, you can do so much with that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
People get in their own way. Like, people over criticize themselves. Like, if you think like a couple of different things, people buy stuff off of social media, but they don't think people are going to buy from them on social media, which is funny. And then people watch like subgrade content and get hooked into it, yet they think they have to be the best in the world. So it's like people don't view things in the proper perspective, right? So like it's just people talking. It's just like interesting ideas, and like people are spouting this stuff all over the place. You have all of these ideas, you're just overcomplicating it. And again, like there's different things that get in people's way. But I mean, it could just be fear of being in the video. That's going to be a major blocker, right? But like even just like I can't remember who I was talking to yesterday. Oh yeah, it was one of my clients, and it was just like we were talking about how we make so many TikToks and like how it's so simple and easy, but like to somebody else, it's just like impossible. And it's just, but it's all just in the practice and doing it and just getting out of your own way and keeping it simple. And like you said, like listening to what people say about what they like about you, or not about you, but like your content, and just doubling down on these different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I found that there's no substitution for doing it. You just got to do it. I always tell people, if you feel uninspired to do things, start hanging out with people who do things.
Yeah.
You'll just get into it, you know.
Yeah.
When you're around people who are making content, they just start doing stuff. This is another thing I tell people: if you're starting a business, and when I started my business, I had just quit my job, and I quit with a 1-sentence email. Right, I was just done. I walked out. I was just like, this video thing, I see the window closing. But everyone's going to have to get on video for sales eventually. And business schools do not teach you how to make TikToks. So I'm like, you know what? I think it would be easier for me to sell this service directly than to pass deals through this sales pipeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, I came out there and I'm like, okay, so I have nothing. I haven't even incorporated yet. I don't have a business. I don't have an LLC. Don't have a website. I don't have a logo. And I can't rely on my bosses to open doors for me or introduce me to people. So I started just looking for who is putting stuff out there, you know, and I met Tyler Lessard from Vidyard, and I met Max Cohen from HubSpot, and I met all these people who they work for companies, but they just put videos out there and they're talking about videos. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn from these people. I'm going to connect with them. I'm going to appreciate them. The first connection request I would always send would be, hey, I loved that video. That was funny. I hope we can connect. And then, yeah, I started showing up in their comments. I would press the love button. I would do that. And then when I would make a video, I would send it over to them and be like, hey, I started making videos. Let me know if you know, what you think of this, if you'd be willing to give me feedback. And I found, the big content creators are almost always willing to give you feedback. It's the low ranking people who are working for companies they hate that'll get pissed off at your content.
Right.
But the people who actually make stuff are usually very supportive. And all of a sudden I was podcasting and I was showing up in people's podcasts and I was doing crossover events with these big companies. And now people are like, oh, well, you're doing X and Y. I could never do that. I'm like, I just started talking to people.
Yeah.
You know, I just started talking to the people who are putting themselves out there.
Yeah. More people need to do that. Like I got into content, like I started to think it would work as like, you know, like most people, not most people, but a lot of people know Gary Vee. A lot of people on LinkedIn know Chris Walker. And I just kept seeing like, I was like, Gary Vee kept saying like, oh, you got to create content. I didn't really understand it at first. I was like, why? But I kept watching. And then I started saying, hey, this guy seems like he's legit. He doesn't seem like he's trying to scam me. He's not asking me to buy anything. I mean, he promoted his book a few times, but that didn't bother me. And then I saw like Chris Walker doing things. I saw him, and I just made the leap. I was like, well, if these people can do it, like I can do it too. I didn't know exactly how. I just started to do it. And then now I'm kind of reaping the same benefits, and then my clients get to do the same thing.
I love that. I always say my business was inspired by a political study. I do not talk about politics on LinkedIn. I do not talk about politics on my show, but I talk about this study because it was amazing. They were studying swing voters, and it was people who voted for one party in 2016 and voted for a different party in 2020. Very, 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 very small but important population in politics. They wanted to analyze what were the ads that actually convinced these people, what got them to change their mind. And they found that the ads that were overproduced, where it was too many graphics, it was too many Hollywood effects flying at you, people didn't trust those ads. But when it was an ad that was a voter talking to the camera, and they were just like, I'm a voter and I'm voting for Donald Trump. Hey, my name is Joe. I live in Ohio. Here's why I'm voting for Joe Biden. That was what made an impact. And once I learned that, I started scrolling through my phone and noticing all these billion-dollar brands, these million and billion-dollar brands, they're all doing it, where they've got an actor being like, oh, hey, it's just me hanging out with my friends, like acting like it's a normal person on a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, the rich people are trying to act like regular people. You know, the giant companies are trying to act just like a mom, you know, shuffling groceries, like talking to a phone. And once I realized that, I'm like, oh, this is so powerful. And I watch the Super Bowl ads, you know, and it's all mega celebrities doing crazy special effects, you know, and I'm like, none of this speaks to me. But if I'm scrolling through on LinkedIn or something and it is a smart person and they're just looking at me and they're talking about something I care about, I will watch that. I will put the podcast up and I will give them an hour of my time to hear them out. And I don't think people realize that, like, it's not your attractiveness. It's not how much money you have. It's like, are you saying something they care about?
Right. Yeah. And
absolutely.
And that's why TikTok is winning right now, because that's how that platform is. And that's why, like, when I record a video and it's not the most flattering angle or it's the bad lighting, I just post it anyways, because it's like, that's what TikTok responds to. And it's all a relief from like the Instagram and just like the LinkedIn, where people get, you know, it's like a little stuffy or whatever it is. It's just like, people just want to connect with people. And there are going to be those people that don't like you, but that's always going to be the case. And you can never make somebody like you, but you can educate them and build trust with them. And that might make them like you, but you can never go out and make anybody like you. It's just impossible.
No, all you can do is just find your people. Put it out there. The people who don't like it, don't waste your time on them. Find the people who it resonates with. Find the people who are like, I loved this, thank you very much, and give them more.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's all it is. We are getting to the end of our time here. Audience, if you have any questions here for Stephen and Erin, whether it's about TikTok, whether it's about entrepreneurship, running a business together, editing podcasts, throw it in here. Guys, what is your, like, anything cool that we should keep our eyes open for coming in the next couple months from you? Or like, what kind of content have you been working on this month?
Yeah, so I'm just going to keep going deeper into helping people streamline this whole process, right? So, you know, like, getting on camera is one of the first hurdles. Then once you get past that and you're creating content, then you get to this spot where it's like, it's taking a lot of your time. And so I'm going to be really digging deep into, like, really, how do you streamline, organize, and just automate as much of this process as possible so that you can just pop in and do your video, regardless of how much we try to preach to people about content. And there are going to be some people that just want to put an hour or two in a week. And so I'm going to continue to go deep on some of that interesting stuff. And then also just talk about some interesting technology stuff around all of this stuff. Because my background is in engineering. So I before I became a content marketer, I was a software engineer. My first business that I built and sold was a software engineering company. And so I totally switched careers getting into content just because I knew how lucrative it would be. So that's kind of where I'm going to be at. And yeah, that's what you can look forward to.
Awesome. Well, audience, I'm going to challenge you at home too. So if you're listening to the audio version of this episode, or if you're watching the video now, I'm going to challenge you to partner up with someone. Maybe it's your spouse, you know, maybe it's your partner. Maybe you two want to get on video together. Maybe you want to do it like Stephen and Erin, where one records the video, the other makes the thumbnail and posts it up and make sure it's nice and ready for production. If you don't have a spouse, you have options. So you can team up with a friend, right? This could be a colleague, your best friend at work. If the two of you get on video together, you can do something compelling. And you could also team up with another content creator. So I am telling you, if you love a content creator, if you love their stuff, you can ask them to do an interview with you. Ask them to go on LinkedIn Live with you. Say, hey, I'd love to record a podcast episode. Podcasts are a lot of work, but we all love guesting on other people's podcasts. So reach out to a creator. If you're a salesperson, reach out to your account manager. You know, if you've got a big account coming up and you got to hand them off to an account manager, get on video together and say, hey, we're going to be meeting next week on Tuesday. Here's what to expect. You're going to meet Abby here. She's going to be in charge of your account. She's awesome. Abby, take it away. Everybody find someone, and in the audience here, throw it down. If you got someone in mind, I want to hear who it is. But yeah, this has been such a joy. I have loved teaming up with you, Stephen and Erin. Thank you. One last time, where should we go if we want to find you and your content?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the best places is YouTube. You can go to YouTube, and if you type Stephen G. Pope, that's where you'll see a lot of the long form stuff where I go into more depth on everything. And then I've got all the short form stuff on LinkedIn here and on TikTok as well. And one other thing is, like, if you are going to work with a spouse, and it takes some intentional things. So like we go out and like we do date nights, and so you do have to take some intentional effort to kind of, you know, just do something that's not work related.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like, if you have a big content win, if you have a big sale, go celebrate, go shut the phone off, you know, dress up nice, go have some fun.
Yeah. Or if you have a big content fail, because you're gonna have lots of content that failed. Like just last week, I had a live show and like it cut off like 2 minutes in, and I just was like, I mean, and I've been doing this for a long time, so it's gonna happen no matter how experienced you are. And I just was like, oh, that sucked, and I just went on with my day. And it, like nobody's gonna care really.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we are getting to the end of our time here. So audience, I'm telling everybody, for our live viewing audience, if you would like to view this show afterwards, if you came in late here, like Teresa, this full episode will be available at the same link. So you can watch the video episode here immediately on replay afterwards if you want. I'm also going to be releasing this episode as an audio podcast, so expect it in about a month or so. You can check out our I Love Lucy parody, our sitcom parody, by going to my LinkedIn. Click my bell, look up Chris Bogue if you want to find my content, or you can find information about my coaching and all my videos and all my previous episodes at ChristopherBogue.com. You can also find all previous episodes of Chris Sells His Soul on any podcast app. So Stitcher, Apple, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can check out previous episodes. And Stephen and Erin Pope, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. It's been an honor, man. I really appreciate it. I'm really glad to be here.
All right, take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.